Hello YouTube, my name is, doesn't matter what my name is, I'm just making a video to respond to a fella I know. He's a lovely guy, hell of a singer, talented chap, old friend of mine who, I won't say his name, I'll call him Andy for now. Anyway, he made a video, he makes a series of videos I enjoy immensely, but he made one called I Like Movies You Hate, okay? And I thought I enjoyed it immensely, like I said. And he's sort of haranguing people who, slag off films in general. Films that he likes. I think some points were very well made. Others, I don't know. I thought I'd address some. So let's rattle through some, shall we? Okay, these are direct quotes from Andy's video. It's a good video. I don't know if I can link to it. It's my first YouTube video. Check out the channel. It's just a lot of fun. Here we go. The current state of movies is not as bad as people are making them out to be. They are as bad. The bad ones are as bad as I make them out to be. The bad ones that are bad are as bad as they are bad. They're bad. The bad ones. There's some good ones. I should point out we're talking quite narrowly about, like sci-fi, maybe superheroes are thrown in. I'm going to generalise it more towards franchise films because the sort of examples that he pointed out tend to be examples of franchises that started off as good films and then suddenly became franchises and suddenly got bad. And they are bad. Let's be clear. Alright then, moving on. Okay, Alien Covenant was the first example. Right, Alien Covenant, weird one. It's not weird, it's just rubbish. It's not even rubbish, right? Okay, Alien Covenant, the direct quote is Alien Covenant, it was good, I enjoyed it. And do you know what? Yeah, it was good. I suppose the point is that the best we're going to expect from Alien films from now on, for them not to be rubbish? And it wasn't rubbish, it wasn't terrible, but compared to what's gone before it, it was pointless. And it's got like dull echoes of everything that's been in there, and a lot of new stuff that no one wanted. So, if you're going out of Alien Covenant going, I enjoyed it, I guess, I enjoyed it, and it's fine. I remember, you seen Aliens for the first time. The end of Aliens. All the stuff that happened in that film. The end of Aliens, you think it's all over. There's massive action sequence getting out of the complex and then going up in the thing. The Queen coming from nowhere, ripping Bishop apart. Massive fight. Just balls to the wall action. She gets to escape with it's just this peaceful resolution right at the end of this absolute thrill ride. You come out of that, stop watching that, just thinking, flipping, I know I've been in something there. Came out of Alien Covenant, but then, okay, we don't have an ending or anything now. We'll get on to the issue of endings, but it was just there. Flipping heck. When we were so happy with just rubbish films, basically, and the box office results sort of bear out the truth. Because Prometheus did pretty well by all accounts, because it had a brilliant, it just looked good. The trailer looked good, it looked interesting. Then everyone went to see it and they were like, oh god, this is terrible. So no one wanted to risk it again to go and see Alien Covenant, which is effectively more of the same, with just some xenomorph action parachuted in. And they were right to do so, because it's fine, but there's nothing memorable about it. It's like you think back to the original Alien before it became a proper franchise, by which I mean Alien is a very different film from Aliens. Aliens was made by someone with just a passion for making the kind of film that he makes. It's his vision, that one little standalone thing. Same with Alien, not made as part of a franchise. Alien 3, similar thing, at least they stand apart. And you think of the stuff that happened in them, the iconic chestburster scene, all we've got of Alien Covenant is a dull echo of that. It's just rubbish in that egg room. It just happens, it's nothing. I'm not bothered. What else happened in Alien Covenant that's really notable? The android fight was okay, but it's that blisteringly original. Aliens, the Queen fight, all the marine stuff with the kid. It was good. Brilliant characters throughout, who are memorable. We'll get onto the issue of characters later. Alien 3, the setup, I haven't watched it for ages. Andy made a good video about Alien 3. And again, it's notable because at least it's its own thing. At least it has an ending. It has something that happens at the end that's just fitting with Ripley's character. She sacrifices herself, keeps the Queen in as it bursts out of her chest as she falls backwards into flames. That's an ending. What ending do we have in Alien Covenant? She goes to sleep and it's revealed. It's the end of a TV show. It's tune in next week. Films don't have any endings anymore. And that's one of the chief reasons that they're not as good as they were. These franchise films, they're not treated as their own story anymore. One film you'll go and see is always leading into the next. It's always ends with a semicolon, never a full stop at the end of a paragraph. It's just always, tune in next year. And it just means you don't get any of the brilliant endings that you used to. And if you can't have a good ending, you can't have a great film. It's just as simple as that. And please don't be satisfied with these bollocks endings, because they're rubbish. And these echoes of previous films, it's not on. The first 30 minutes of Alien Covenant, man, that's a joke. It's the same as Alien, down to the letter, made by the same guy. Why is this happening? Why bother? And to be fair, I'll tell you why it bothers. Prometheus was clearly the film Ridley Scott wanted to make about big themes like creation. Where did we come from? That's fine. Didn't need any alien stuff in it. Didn't have any alien stuff in it, apart from the stuff that he hacked on at the end. Then he realised everyone hated it, partly because of lack of alien, mainly because it was rubbish, and it made no sense, and it was just bewilderingly, unsatisfyingly terrible. So now, what is Alien Covenant saying about anything? It was kind of okay, but I'll tell you what the thing about Alien Covenant is. No one cares where these aliens came from. It weakens them to know that some loser android tinkered with them a bit over a very quick time. Oh, he's made the eggs now. What about the Queen? Oh, forget that then. He's just been tinkering with his charts, and now here's an alien fully formed. Oh, well, good one. I don't care. No one cares. No one watches the alien and you think, oh man, I wish I knew where they came from. You imagine it. You don't want to know. It's the same as Joker's origin. Joker's scary because you don't know why he's there. Christopher Nolan, as much as I hate that third Dark Knight Batman film, that second one, he got the character right. And most people who write the Joker do, apart from Suicide Squad. Jesus. Anyway, but the scary thing about him is that you don't know where he's from. He can't be bargained with. He doesn't operate under any kind of logic you understand. And if he's got an origin, you'd know how he got that way and you could fight it. The fact that he hasn't got one means you're just completely, you'll never beat him. Same with the alien. Don't want to know how they were made. It cheapens it, it weakens it. The whole point is it's alien. You just don't know. And as the story comes and like how the human characters survive it and the scenarios they're in, the alien is just an ever-present. It's just this destructive force that you can use as a mirror to show the characters doing stuff. And that's the memorable stuff in the Aliens films, I maintain, especially Aliens. She's just got the strongest character work, and probably Alien 3 after that. Ripley's not a great character in Alien. She just does her stuff. She's fairly boring. But then suddenly in Alien, she's this kick-ass mother. It's the mother-daughter stuff that makes the Aliens interesting, in my opinion, not just the action. And then you stake that character. Alien 3 is horribly bleak, obviously, but Christ, at least it's interesting. And the character of Ripley, what it ended up as. It's interesting stuff. And you just think that new female character in Alien Covenant, like what was she? What can anyone tell me about her character? She wanted to build a cabin, I think. And then after that, it's just, she's good with a gun. She did all the stuff that Ripley did, but with none of the character things. Again, why would you bother? At least Elizabeth Shaw from Prometheus was a scientist who had an objective. And then at the end of that, flipping, alright, kind of an ending. I've got this android's head in a bag and I'm shanning off to some other planet to find out what's really going on. Alright, okay, fair enough. I'll tune into the next sequel. Get to the next sequel. Oh, she's dead, is she? Oh, nice one. But screw me then. I'm an idiot for wanting to know now. Thanks for nothing. And I get replaced with this lame-eyed character who doesn't do anything. Nothing happened in that film. What can you remember from it? I'll tell you what I remember from Alien Covenant. It's where they land, all the people are off without their helmets again, on a planet they've never been on, inhaling. Who could possibly have predicted that would have happened? A space exploration team. Oh, it's a sweet planet. Let's just go outside. Everyone's been over that ad infinitum. Who cares? But then while they're away, an alien comes back and bursts out of this dude, and then there's this woman. And she runs into the room and slips on blood. It's like a Benny Hill scene. She just keeps messing up, and then she ends up destroying the spaceship because she's a fool. And everyone in the cinema's just going. And I'm thinking, was it supposed to be that way? Is that a comedy scene? Because the music doesn't seem to be indicating it needed the Benny Hill theme. Oh, it seems to have slipped on some blood. Oh, matron, I've blown up the ship. Oh, goodness me, what a. And then, anyway, there you go, Alien Covenant. It's not good. Mate, it's not. It's all right. It's not acceptable. Not acceptable. I'll pause it there and just start it again. Okay, next. Right. Oh man, this is a big one, this one. This is the bit that made me like tense up. Because the rest of it's like subjective. You want to like Alien Covenant, fair enough. But this one is a big one. People weren't getting the answers they wanted. Movies in general are not there to give you an answer. That's contentious. Firstly, people weren't getting the answers they wanted. They weren't getting the answers they wanted to questions posed by Prometheus, which was, to which Covenant was a sequel. So my point in general would be, if you're making a film, films, in order for a film to be interesting, you have to have a setup of some kind, and you have to want to know what happens to the characters in it. You have to know they have a story set up, and that's a question. The question is what's going to happen next. That question has to be answered. Usually gets in a good way if it's done properly. The question gets answered, but then it ends in a and therefore. So there was a direct result of something that's happened. It's not just a case of yes or no, or it can be, but it's got to be. It can't just be no answer. So all the questions. Prometheus was all questions and no satisfaction. That's not that's why everyone hated it. At root, I think it was loads of questions, and people hated it because usually in a film like that, it's like having a mystery film that doesn't explain the mystery. It just confuses and bewilders and upsets you. And it's like, it's fair enough, right? If that director wanted you to walk out of that film just going, what was going on there? Then fair enough, but that's not what anyone wants. And I think that's being borne out by the box office results. So, it's like a promise. You get promised something in films. You get promised you're going to be entertained and satisfied. And when that promise gets broken and you just get confused and upset, it's not on. You shouldn't accept it. Prometheus was the worst for that, But yeah, it's like, it's not a case of wanting answers. It's a case of wanting answer to the questions that the film itself poses. Within my rights to demand that. I want to, if you're saying to me, we're going to go to the engineer's homeworld to find things out, I want to know about it. I don't want to be made to infer it from online discussion, which is what we lead into. Flipping heck. It's that idea of, you get promised something from the story. Take The Matrix, for instance. Questions posed in The Matrix by Morpheus. What is The Matrix? That's what Neo's finding out. We find out with him. We're shown what the Matrix is. Oh my Christ, that's the Matrix. The next question is he the one? It gets answered. He is the one. And it's brilliant when it's one of those memorable scenes. He stops the bullets. You get shivers just thinking about it. That's a moment. That's what you want in a film. You want the point where the question is answered to be a moment. And you want no ambiguity to it. End of that film. Fantastic ending. It's left open, but you know what's happened. He's become the one. He's going to take the fight to the machines. He flies off past the camera. Rage Against the Machine kicks in. Everyone in the cinema just goes, come on, that is wicked. Matrix Reloaded. Oh my, Hogan's Ghost. You talk about a film that just poses nothing but questions and no answers. That's the one. And who can defend that pile of, oh jeez. And I'll tell you what, the next thing Andy sort of said was, if you want answers, Google them afterwards. Come on, he can't even surely. Andy, you can't surely believe that that's valid. A film should stand on its own if it's a film on its own, and if it's a sequel, it should stand together with the sequel to be watched as one thing. It should make sense on it. You shouldn't have to Google anything. I remember watching The Matrix Reloaded when I was at university, and shortly afterwards, me and my mate were like, what was going on in that architect scene? Because it seemed like it's going to be a pivotal scene that would explain stuff, give you the answers, make everything make sense, and it just didn't, or it appeared not to. No, it didn't. I still don't understand why it was happening. We sat in front of a computer with like some guy who'd done like a philosophical analysis of it. Some guy had was maintaining that it made sense, and we were dissecting it line by line. You're thinking, what did the architect mean by that? What was that? And that wasn't like a fun sort of, let's really get into this. It was like, we're trying to salvage something here from something that may be good or might not. We just don't know. And I'm being confused and bewildered by a film. We couldn't get it. And I've since sort of read up on it. And it's a great idea, the idea of the one being just the latest of many ones, and this one's different from all the rest because he's got an attachment to humanity in general rather than... No, he's got the opposite. The original ones had an attachment to humanity in general, but this one's got attachment purely to Trinity, and in so doing is completely unique. But that didn't come across. It was all like apropos and concordantly vis-a-vis. I'm just going to talk nonsense for a bit. Terrible provision of questions with no answers, and that's why everyone hated that film, because it posed questions, no answers. Revolutions, terrible. Like, if anyone could tell me why him and why Neo and Smith were fighting in that city at the end, doing the Superman fight, answers on a postcard, because I never understood it, and I've watched it again, and it makes no sense. There's no reason for... I just don't know what they're doing at that point. And if people are fighting without a point to it, that's not a story. That's just something that's happening. You don't care about the outcome. You're not invested in the film. That's not a good film. So this idea of answers not being required, it's just they're taking us for mugs, if we're honest. Taking them for mugs. Next quote. I liked all the Alien films, Andy says, apart from Resurrection and Alien vs Predator. That's fine. So you like all the Alien films apart from the crap ones that were rubbish. You don't need to like those because they were terrible. But then it is a crux of your argument, if I may, just what destroys it. Saying people shouldn't rag on films because they, for niggly reasons or because they have expectations. My expectation of a film is that it should be a good film that makes sense, but that's by the by. You just go into a film to be entertained. Fair enough. But then the reason you don't like Aliens vs Predator is because it's set in the Arctic. I just seen if someone was home. It's set in the Arctic, and predators are drawn to heat. Oh, I'm out. That's what he said, and I think that's valid because that's not that. It doesn't logically follow on from the preset, the premise that they've set up in the previous Predator films, and it is something that shocks you out of suspension of disbelief. They shouldn't do it. They should know better. It's not acceptable. So, yeah, that's a valid reason for not doing it. And you should hold the writers to a better standard than that. They failed. So again, it's when bad things happen in films like that, it's just knocking you out of it. At a point in the film where you just go, oh, what? So don't accept it. You're quite right. You're quite right not to accept it. Resurrection, I can't even remember it. It's not great, is it? So there you go. Oh, flipping heck. Batman versus Superman. Not as bad as people say. It is as bad as people say. To be honest, I got beef with portrayal of Batman and Superman in this film. I'll tell you the point. Here we go. Look, if Alien vs Predator, you watch that and you go, but predators are drawn to heat. Why are they in the Arctic? Fair enough. My version of that with this was Batman's fighting Superman, and yes, he's fat and old, but he's in shape, and we've seen him kicking ass and whatnot. Batman's fighting Superman on the rooftop, and at one point they're fighting, and Superman goes back a bit. He stands there like this, doing nothing, and just looking moody, because that's what the new Superman does apparently. But we'll get onto that. Batman takes a smoke grenade out, and it's the slowest thing. It's literally, and it's a massive grenade, and he goes, and he holds it there for and then he throws it, and then Superman's just waiting there, and then Superman dashes through the smoke. And at that point, I'm like, have you ever watched anything to do with Batman? That's before you even get onto the guns. As if Batman would ever be that slow with it. He's just like that, bang! Or at the most, it's one motion. If Batman stood like that, Batman getting a smoke grenade out is this, and he's gone, and that's it. It's not, I'm gonna take a grenade and put it in a smoke. And then Superman's like, I'm just gonna wait, are you gonna kiss on? Alright, I'll go now. Come on, please. Alright, the guns. People throw a hissy fit over Batman using guns and whatnot. And if that's this guy's vision of Batman, fair enough. Do what you want with it. I've got a problem with people sort of taking on characters that have been well established and then just doing weird stuff with them, but as a separate thing. If you want to make him use guns, fair enough. But what you're doing is taking away an interesting aspect of the character. Dark Knight Rises, you got that bit with Catwoman where Batman's fighting alongside her, and he says, "No guns, no one dies." He says to her, and he stops her fighting, and they get into more trouble because of it or something. That's a character moment. That's something that's interesting. If everyone uses guns, then everyone's the same. There's nothing interesting happening. That's why Batman, doesn't want to use guns, because it plays into his origin story of his parents being killed with guns. It makes perfect sense, and it gives him an edge. It's why he just can never beat the Joker, because he'll never play him at his own game, you know, of wanting death and destruction. That's a character thing. The character, Batman versus Superman, the character, it sort of starts out okay, I guess. But then, it's just so dour. And that whole... I sort of bought his reasoning to want to sort of fight Superman, take him down perhaps, not kill him. But, you know, it makes sense to put this alien under control. And people had the problem with that Martha bit. I'm not sure, I thought that made perfect sense. Batman's completely forgotten his humanity. And he just wants to just destroy this guy who's, like, supposedly better than him. And it makes sense that when he gets reminded of his humanity, he gets shocked out of it. But not to the point where he'd, like, just suddenly be, because that doesn't change anything about Superman, the fact that he's got a mum. Superman is still this dangerous thing. Batman's just instantly on his side and then goes off, and it's not a good film. As far as the Superman thing goes, in order to even remotely get any enjoyment out of that Batman versus Superman film, you've got to convince yourself that you're watching the Superman from your childhood, Christopher Reeve Superman. You've got to convince yourself that he's the Superman, that he's Superman and not what they made him in Man of Steel, not what they make him in Batman versus Superman, which is this kind of weird, emo, dour, brutally boring, colourless non-hero who everyone seems to hate. And he just doesn't do much heroic stuff. He's like always moaning about stuff. It's just so joyless. And here's what... you can say something like, oh, it's just a film, it's just supposed to be entertaining. It's not just a film, I'll tell you why. And it's not about me, it's not about my childhood, it's about kids' childhoods. Because if you're growing up now, and your hero is this current Superman, that's your hero to look up to. Well, that's a pretty poor hero to look up to, in my opinion. What have you got? Man of Steel. Hey kids, you too can fly and be a hero, but when the going gets tough, you have to break your opponent's neck. Now, it's just not good enough. Andy made an album with a band called Soundgate, and it was called The Third Alternative. And that comes to mind because you watch superhero films, the vast majority of them, towards the end, where the character is faced with a seemingly impossible choice. Happens in most of them. And usually it's a case of you can save the world or you have to do something else. And something else is quite negative morally. Kill the villain, in which case you know better than the villain. You have to maybe let one person die so that everyone else can live. And the vast majority of the time, the hero finds a third alternative. And it's that surprise of what that third alternative is that provides the joyous reveal. And hopefully it's been set up subtly throughout the film. An example, the original Superman film, he's got the choice between saving Jimmy and Lois. He saves Jimmy or a whole city, but Lois dies. And that's not the end. It would be if it was Man of Steel, the end, sorry Lois. But no, Superman turns back time. And it's been set up because his dad forbid him to do it. I mean, there appear to be no consequences to him doing it, but that's by the by. The third alternative was found. Can you remember that bit? He turns back time. No! Oh God, I just remembered it. And there's a bit in Superman where he gets to Lois and he's too late. And I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. He holds her in his arms. The music gets sucked out. And he's just Christopher Reeve at that moment, like he is Superman. He ceases to be human. Forever, he is there as Superman in that. He just is. He is. He's just looking at Lois, and she is Lois Lane because he makes her Lois Lane. He looks down, and he can't understand it. He's never had to deal with this. Never been in love, and he just looks up at the sky, and he just goes. He screams, and it's this most amazing scream, and he pings off, and he starts to do it, and his dad's in the clouds going, "You can't interfere with human history," but he does it. Screw you, Dad. I love her. That's brilliant. What is there in Man of Steel that's better than that? He fights Zod, they punch him a lot, he breaks his neck, and that's it. No moments, no character, nothing. And that's the Superman we've got. That's the Superman for our times, is it? Well, our times suck. And that's a dour Superman. That's a terrible, terrible hero to have. Because you can't find a third alternative. Kids don't bother taking the hard way out. You definitely have to kill your opponent. That's what I'm saying. Utterly joyless. And I don't buy this whole, Superman's got to change for our times, because our times are different from the 80s, 77 or whatever, when that movie came out. Our times are different. They're darker. And yeah, they are. In which case, you don't take a hero and change their character to this dour nonsense to fit in with our times. If you want to make a Superman film, you take Superman, you keep him being Superman, you use that as a mirror to our times to show how our times would deal with that kind of character, not how a changed character would deal with our times. If you want to make an emo superhero who doesn't want to save anyone and is just like constantly in existential crisis, make a new one, make your own, but no one will go and see it because no one likes lame-o emo superheroes because they're just not what people want to be. Nothing aspirational about them, is there? What's the point of Superman? God, there's so many. It's just so dour. Give me a hero, please. Okay, there you go. But so it is as bad as people saying. It's doing irreparable damage. Imagine your kid just going, suicide. Stop ruining DC movies for me, mate. They're ruining them for you by making terrible ones. Now, Wonder Woman I think is supposed to be quite good. Because he's a different director. Zack Snyder. He's terrible at films. He is. 300 is alright, but that wasn't his story, was it? Suicide Squad, that's someone else running David Ayer or whatever. That is like some kind of weird experiment to see who can make the worst film ever. Watching that and the start of it, God, watching it like, is my drink being spiked or is this as bad as it seems? Because it seems really bad, almost too bad. Now stuff with the Joker is like, why bother making this? That's not a take on the Joker. If you haven't got a take on the Joker, you shouldn't be using him. It just cheapens the whole thing. Just terrible. So they're DC are moving in DC, Warner Brothers, whatever. They're the ones that are ruining the DC movies for you. It's just Jesus. Right, okay, next one. Again, Andy says, stop slamming stuff because it didn't go the way you wanted it to. Now, I can agree with this because I often go into films with a preconceived notion of how I want them to be. And the first time I watch them through, I can be a bit frustrated if something doesn't happen. Case in point, Force Awakens. I was not Han Solo. I liked Han Solo, but in the original Star Wars films, Luke was my guy just because that was what the main story was about. It was his progression. So when the opening crawl reveals Luke Skywalker has disappeared at The Force Awakens, I want to see him found. And yeah, we did find him at the end, but the way we got there was so unsatisfying. There's a map. Okay, there's a map, fair enough. Who's got it? It's on a little memory card, and half of it is. The other half's in R2-D2. Or R2-D2 got it from the Imperial Memory Archives. What? It just didn't make any sense, and it's not integral to the climax of that film. Climax of that film, the attack on Starkiller Base, is not... That's got nothing to do with Luke. They're not trying to get the information out. It's not integral, so it's like it's off to the side. And then suddenly R2-D2 wakes up for no reason. And I don't care. J.J. Abrams can walk around saying what he wants. It doesn't make sense. It's rubbish. Give Force Awakens a pass because it has some brilliant characters who are actually likeable and drive the action along. Give it that. Give it a lot for that. It's just that, they're likeable characters. Last time we had likeable Star Wars characters was, prequels. So what was my point with this? Slam stuff just didn't go the way I wanted to. I wanted Luke Skywalker, basically. I wanted Luke Skywalker because I felt that I was owed him. So when I didn't get him, and I get to the end, and it's like, I don't get to say anything. Okay, well, brilliant. So that now I'm going to be, just upset and bewildered again. Fair enough. But the second time I watched it, I liked it a lot. I'll tell you what, it's annoyed me about Force Awakens. It's that bit with the shield, like how they get into Starkiller Base, and what they're trying to attack, all the X-Wings that they're trying to attack. It's like, it's another shield thing, but you never see the shield. It never gets visualized. Same as in Return of the Jedi. You never see the shield as protecting the Death Star. It doesn't quite make sense as to when it's up, when it's down. They say it, but you don't see it. Rogue One, the only good thing about it was that it finally visualized the good shield mechanic, and you actually saw the thing. We might get onto Rogue One later, because that's a shower of bollocks as well. So yeah, conceived notion, slamming stuff because you didn't go the way you wanted to do, fair enough. But if they're being inconsistent with the characters that's been said before, that's not you wanting to be something to be a certain way. That's they've said something should be a certain way, and they're betraying you by making it not that way. So it's going to shock you out of it. It's going to be like, wow, why did he do that? Is it much break that guy's? But that's what it's supposed to be, That's why I'm just going to stop this for a second. Okay. So the next point. They're just telling a story, not killing your childhood, Andy says. No, they're not killing my childhood. They're killing the childhoods of the children today with that terrible Superman hero. But Terrible Superman role model. That's by the by. Yeah, they're just telling a story, but that doesn't mean they get to tell a bad story. This franchise episodic with no endings and no resolutions. You know, please. I'm not trying to nitpick in films. I go into a film wanting to lose myself, to feel. Yeah, you just want to lose yourself. You want to feel something. Forget the outside world. For that to happen, it has to make sense. You have to have characters that behave consistently within their world and the events that happen around them. And that's kind of all you want. That's all you want. That and a couple of memorable moments that make sense, don't come out of nowhere, and that aren't forced or contrived. You know, it's not. Apparently, it is too much for me to, to do that. There we go. Mentions Alien 3 again. Yeah, I haven't seen it for ages. But at least it's its own film. Again, that doesn't scan almost like a franchise film. It's wildly different from Aliens. It's wildly different from Alien. At least someone was having a go at it. I know that's not actually what it was. It wasn't one person's vision. It was a hodgepodge of influences that made it a bit of a mess, allegedly. But at least it had like good moments and it was a strong setup. And I remember characters from that. It's a very interesting setup. Woman alone on a prison planet. You know, monster on the loose. You know, fair enough. I think my problem is, if you get to Alien Covenant, Ridley Scott has got this film he wants to make about creation, but it's nothing to do with any film. And he kicked off some other guy who was gonna. Some other guy was Neil Blomkamp or something. He was gonna make some Alien films, and he probably was thinking about the Alien story he was gonna tell for all his life, and he might have been taking it into some new direction, a bit like Alien 3 did, rather than this kind of weird remake we got in Alien Covenant. And you just think, mate, Ridley Scott, you've made Alien, you've made it. Why do you want to make it again? Go and make your creationist film that explores the myths of the creation of humanity, by all means. And also, because he made Prometheus, that stopped Guillermo del Toro from making it The Mountains of Madness, which had a similar plot about discovering that mankind isn't as old as we thought it was, or whatever. No, the Earth's way older than we thought it was, and its aliens were here long before us and whatnot. Del Toro saw the script of Prometheus. He was like, "Oh, I can't make my film now," so he had to stop. How must he have felt when he saw Prometheus? He was just like, "For this nonsense, I didn't get to make my film." Well, thanks, Ridley. Thanks. So I'd say, Ridley, you made Alien. Why are you doing this? You can't make Alien any better. You don't need to do it. Oh gosh. Anyway. At least Alien 3 had an ending. What an ending. I think I discussed that earlier. Falling back into the fire. Brilliant. What was Alien Covenant's big moment? There wasn't one. There we go. Next line from Andy. Terminator Genesis is not that bad. Do you know what? I did actually quite enjoy Terminator Genesis. Because I think it largely made sense. And I'm a sucker for sort of moments. Emotional moments. Look at how obvious they are. If they make sense and they're consistent with characters, then I'm fine. I enjoy it. I was lost in it. It's that bit where the Terminator's fighting and that. And then he goes like, "Look after my Sarah." And I do get a bit emotional thinking about that. That's fine. That's good. But you come out of it going, "That's good. I quite enjoyed that." And it's gone. It's gone from your mind a week later. Whereas you can taste Terminator, the original film. You can almost taste the idea of it. And Terminator 2, iconic. Maybe things are heightened when you're a kid and they last longer in the memory, but I don't think that's true. I think these franchise films that are doing what's being done but less good by people who are less talented, and that's just a fact, I'm afraid, they're going to be forgotten. They're not going to live on in anyone's mind because they're dim echoes of something that was done better. Those two Terminators are just fantastic. Terminator 3, again, I don't think it's as bad as Genesis or Salvation. Jeez, that was a chore, wasn't it? How did that happen? Salvation, it wasn't. And Andy sort of posits the notion that Terminator Salvation wasn't successful because people heard Christian Bale having to go at the lighting director. That's not why it wasn't successful. It wasn't successful because it was terrible. The reviews were terrible because it was a terrible film. People who saw it told their mates not to go and see it because it was terrible and confusing and dull and boring. And again, it's this origin film that no one wants. We've already seen it. We've seen it. Make something new, I beg of you. In the future, they'll look back at this decade, because sooner or later, people get sick of these and they'll want original ideas again. So in the year 3000, assuming the Earth hasn't been reduced to a smouldering wreck. People look back at this year and it's like, why do they keep making these films? I'll tell you what bugs me about franchise and reboots and stuff. Ghostbusters. Now, I really like that new one, but that's by the by for this at this moment. But people will look back and say, why did they... Which is the Ghostbusters film? Because there's one that was made in 1984. There's one made in 2016. Why are they both called Ghostbusters? And the answer will be, because Hollywood's lazy. Does that make sense? Making the same film over and over again. Sequels, fair enough if you've got something to say, but just calling them the same thing, it bugs me that. Why are we remaking stuff constantly? It's the decade that we ran out of ideas. Say we. I haven't, made my magnum opus yet, have I? I like that Ghostbusters film. I didn't see it because everyone was ragging on it. Things Ghostbusters for me wasn't this precious part of my childhood at all. It was a good film. I liked it. I loved it. I watched it over and over again. I prefer the second one though. What'd you make of that? Don't care. But that one with the girls was just funny. It had good. I laughed at everything. I had good moments. Made sense. Felt good after it. Felt like I'd been taken on a journey then. I liked it when she went back into the other portal and the other one went and got her out and she's like, I'm not leaving you again. Come on, that's good stuff. That's strong. And that bit with the guns, where she's pinging around in slow motion, brilliant. They weren't set up beforehand, obviously. This is a shame. Largely, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it immensely. Anyway, so again, it's these franchises, basically, these franchise films, the ones we mentioned. Genesis was trying to make a franchise, was terrible. Alien, they've changed into a franchise. Just not good enough anymore. There we go. I think I'll make one final point about a couple of things that bug me. It's this, right, here we go. It's tied in with this notion of just go to a film and appreciate it for what it is. Don't go in with preconceived notions. Don't judge it on sequels or whatever, or anything that's gone before, basically. Just enjoy it for what it is. The problem with that is, that's not what the film companies are doing. They're banking on you knowing about stuff. Case in point is Rogue One. Now this point's been made elsewhere, but it sums up perfectly why I just didn't like it. People came out of Rogue One going, whoa, that was a Star Wars film, wasn't it? That was a Star Wars film. The reason they thought that is because they saw Darth Vader. It's because there was AT-AT walkers. It's because there was Grand Moff Tarkin and a Death Star. And that's all stuff from the original Star Wars. And that's missing the point. Because if you do take Rogue One at face value, it's a rubbish film. The characters are terrible. There aren't any characters in it. It's muddled. It's dour. Joyless. It's just no fun. It drags. The action is meaningless because you're not rooting for anyone. It's a bad film. And it misses the point completely of what made Star Wars a good film. And I reckon the director knows this, and it was all just ended up the way it was because of studio interference. Because the bones are there of something good. Now, the point is, the reason people liked Star Wars, whatever they say, the original Star Wars, is because of Han, Luke, and Leia, and their stories and their characters, their struggles to overcome evil, the way they do it, the way they interact, the things they do, the things they say, the people they are magnetic. You just want to see more of them. You care about them. The mark of a good character is, if you met them on the street and something happened, in the vicinity, you'd know how they'd act. If someone fell over at a bus stop, you know what Luke Skywalker would do. He'd go over and help them instantly. Han Solo would laugh and hang back before helping them discreetly if he could, but he'd make a gag out of it. Princess Leia, she'd be nice about it. Again, you know what they're like, but they still have the capacity to surprise you. Jyn Erso, there's nothing there, man. There's nothing there. Nothing there. So they're relying on you, this nostalgia, and it's all added post after the fact nostalgia, because the original Star Wars films, no one was like, oh my god, an AT-AT, or Darth Vader wasn't what he is now. They liked it because of the characters. It was only after, when it all became so massively cultish, that people were like, hey, you know what's amazing? Biggs. I heard that on a podcast, but it's stuff like people start giving a shit about Biggs Darklighter as if it's this amazing thing. It's not. It's just some lame-o character. Same with Boba Fett. He's an afterthought, and it's not integral. It's not what makes Star Wars great. So I'm watching Rogue One, and then you think, why am I not feeling anything? I might get a bit of goosebumps when Darth Vader kills some people. But that's just because of what Darth Vader's been built. It's not a good film. It's just pointless. I hope they... I mean, Force Awakens has some good moments. I just hope they do Luke's character justice. And here's... Right, I'll go in there. Here's a point, right? I'm going to go see The Force Awakens. I'm going to go see The Last Jedi, rather. And I'm going to take a preconceived notion with me. Because Luke Skywalker is on that poster. I can see his bearded face. And my preconceived notion is based on what I've seen Luke Skywalker do in the first 3 Star Wars films. And I tell you what, if you go and watch those, initially he's motivated by taking on the Empire and becoming a Jedi. But very quickly, towards the end of Star Wars, and certainly in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he becomes motivated almost solely by the notion of saving his friends. He gives up his training to rush into danger in Empire Strikes Back to save his friends because he can't bear the thought of them suffering. Yoda tells him, you've got to let them die if need be, if you want to save the galaxy. Luke's like, screw you, little green weirdo, and screw the galaxy, because I'm going to go and save my friends. That is a character trait. And it's good. And it mirrors what Yoda, dare I say it, said, to Anakin in the prequels. Said, got to let Padme go. Let your loved one go if you love him. The fact that Luke isn't willing to do that is very interesting. It's great. It's good stuff. And then in Return of the Jedi, he's motivated by saving his father completely. He just sacrificed himself in a heartbeat to save his father. So now we know Luke Skywalker is motivated solely by his capacity for empathy for others. That's his thing. That's why I like him so much. So in Force Awakens, Han Solo is in terrible emotional trouble. His son is, in a horrible state. And I realise there's backstory there that wouldn't obviously been told about. Luke failed in his training. But Luke effectively goes to the other side of the galaxy and hides away while Han Solo and Princess Leia are in the most terrible emotional pain. And he leaves them twisting in the wind. He just leaves them to it. Now, people are trying to defend this online. And it isn't defendable because he wouldn't do that. Everything we know about Luke Skywalker says he would not do that. He'd come running. I don't care how. This is a guy who said screw you to the fate of the galaxy to go and save his friends. He wouldn't leave them like that. So, if by the end of The Last Jedi I haven't been shown a really good reason for that having happened, and I'm not saying there might not be one, maybe there is. It had to be a hell of a reason. A hell of a reason for Luke to not bother going to see that. And that's not me coming in with some weird notion of exactly how I want it to go. That's how they've said it should go, by what's come in the past. And if they don't make mention of that, then they've missed the point, and they shouldn't be in charge of it. They shouldn't be in charge of such a thing. It's just as simple as that. If you want to make this moody Jedi who can hide away, if you want it to be Luke Skywalker, there's better be a good reason for it. If you don't, then make a new Jedi then! Make a new one! Oh, you can't, because that would involve some fucking effort. Okay, right. So that's your Star Wars stuff. But again, the overall thing is I want to believe. And it's not like you're bringing these things in. It's how they set it up. And it's consistency, and it's just the basics of good storytelling. It's just, I want to believe. I want to believe in this. I do. But they're making it very hard. They're making it very hard. And final thing, Andy didn't do any of this, but I'm sure he'll agree with me. I don't like it when people say things like, say if I'd said to someone, oh, Transformers is a terrible film, it makes no sense, it's boring, it's rubbish, it's a terrible film. And they'll say, well, it's a film about giant robots from outer space. Do you really expect it to make sense? You're okay with a giant robot, but you're not alright with some weird plot holes. And I'm like, come on, you can't miss the point, so you can't miss the point that much. Cinema in general, it is suspension of disbelief of unlikely scenarios playing out. It's how people react to them within the world. It's consistency, it's verisimilitude. It's if something blows up in front of you in a cinema, in a film, something blows up in front of the character, they've got to go, whoa! They've got to be scared for their lives. And if they're not, then we know we're watching a film, we know we're watching something fake, and we don't get on with it. Jurassic World, oh my days! High heels running away from a T-Rex. And I saw someone online defending it, someone who'd made some very good points about some other films. They were saying, look, it's a film about reanimated dinosaurs. Are you really going to get bugged with someone running away in high heels? That's the thing that's going to bug you? Well, yeah, it is! Because I believe that those dinosaurs are there. Or I did until someone is running away from them in slow motion in high heels. Because that tells me, all right, you're not in any danger. Because if you were, you wouldn't be running around in high heels. You'd have found some different shoes. You don't care about this. You're not scared. Someone else made the point that those kids in the new Jurassic World film, they're just not that scared of this massive dinosaur coming to get them. And they're not. The original ones in Jurassic Park were so scared. Right as they should have been. Because it's scary. Dinosaurs are scary, but they can't do that again because it's already been done. So they have to do this weird, terrible, just terrible sequel. With that poor PA woman getting killed for no reason. I don't know, it ended on this, but that was just, I left a horrible taste in the mouth. No point, no rhyme reason. So to sum up then, I want to believe, you know, when was the last film that I felt something for? It might be that Ghostbusters one, you know. You just want to punch the air. I'll tell you what I liked. I liked X-Men Apocalypse. That was a comic book on screen. The big moments in that. It's just such a strange film, isn't it? But then there's a bit where I like this bit where Apocalypse is using Charles to send a message to the world to basically say, get ready for everyone to die. But Charles just puts his own message in and he says, to those with power, and it's all about power and stuff and just the strongest shall survive. To those with power, protect those without. And I get goosebumps because that's what it's about. These people who say in films they have to divorce themselves from politics. That's what Nazism was. It was about the powerful surviving and the weak not being worthy to survive. Only the strongest shall survive. That's what that's about. And when that's powerful, it's real, it resonates. People act consistently. It's a very simplistic film. And that bit where he goes, you can't win Apocalypse because you're alone and I'll never be alone. That got goosebumps. Simple. Because again, that just means it's not just a case of everyone for themselves. You're stronger if we work together. And that resonates with our time. What resonates from Batman and Superman? If you're an alien, you have to fight a bat. It's that sort of emotional resonance. Just simple, but just do it right. That's the feeling you want. At the end of Apocalypse, I'm not ashamed to say it, I had tears in my eyes and I was punching the air. It gave me what I wanted. It gave me people who cared about each other and fought together for what they believed in. And it had twists and turns. The bad guys lost because they were wrong. Punching the air I was. And I recognise it's not the greatest of films. But yeah, I was loving it. Whereas that Logan, oh my god, that's a separate thing. But why would you make something as depressing as that? I'll never understand. I don't want this joyless. If that's how our films are these days, they can keep them. I don't want colour. I want feeling. Guardians of the Galaxy. There you go. Colour, feeling, emotion. It's about family. It's a beautiful thing about these superhero films. The good ones, the bad ones are just everything a superhero film hater says they are. It's just men with powers fighting and it's lame. That's Batman versus Superman. That's not about anything. That's just about men fighting. Suicide Squad. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy is just a soap opera. It's a family soap opera that happens to be set in space. Force Awakens. No, I'm not going back there. I'm not going back to that one. Anyway, that's about the size of it. So there are good films out there, but the fact that there's bad ones doesn't mean you should roll over and take it, no matter how beloved they are for your franchise, because people should be making better films than they are. So I'm going to call it to a halt there. I'm not sure I'm actually going to put this on YouTube because it's so long. I've said some fairly fruity things, but cheers. Andy, let's go for a pint sometime. Congratulations on your new fatherhood. All the best.